Greetings and welcome into the Sports Shuffle. I am Flying Ryan Gokers along with.
Tampa Motor Mouth, Joel Verlin, as just before we press the button. Oh boy, I know we'll get to it in the recaps, but yeah, your quarterback just got benched. Your $200 million plus freaking multi-year extension quarterback got benched, and not for Zach Wilson either.
Yeah, it's not great. Quinn Ewers
Yeah,
will be the quarterback for the Dolphins the rest of the way. Now, I understand why it's not Zach Wilson. You got to see if Quinn Ewers could be a guy you can go with into next season. The Tua era in Miami is all but over, other than the fact that there's going to be $99.2 million dead cap for the next couple of years if we release him. At some point, you just
well,
got to pull the Band-Aid off and say this was a mistake and start over. You see Denver doing that with Bo Nix. They're the top seed in the AFC right now, so it can be done. You see
it's
it with
all of a
the
sudden
Steelers.
phrase of the day for the Dolphins would have to be dead money.
Only time will tell if that actually occurs. Of course, a new coaching staff may be in the works as well. The new coaching staff may say, "No, we can win with Tua."
Mm,
We'll see.
Yeah, because you had quite a change. Because of course you had Mike McDaniel, of course, coming in all of a sudden, reviving Tua after how Brian Flores completely, utterly trashed him and just brought him down to next to nothing, doubting his whole worth. McDaniel all of a sudden pumped him up, but now, he's changing the direction just a little bit. All of a sudden, defending Tua nationally, sticking up for him, but then all of a sudden, when Tua just threw people literally under the bus after that press conference, and then just kind of apologized for it. And then you had that utterly disastrous game on Monday night. I mean, just how many times have they won below 40 degrees with Tua?
Never. He is now 0-6. Now, I do want to say,
Zero.
in general, those have been against teams like Kansas City, Buffalo. They've
Sure.
been against good teams. This one, Pittsburgh, who's won 23 Monday Night Home football games in a row, by the way, which that's a crazy fact just to do it. But they've lost those against good teams. Not like they've gone to Cleveland or Green Bay has been a good team. I'm trying to think of the northern bad teams, really. New England before the last couple of years and lost these games in the cold. I think he lost last year the Jets in a garbage game. That didn't really matter, but that was after they were eliminated from playoffs. But 0-6 is 0-6. 2 is to the bench. Quinn Ewers will be the quarterback of choice the rest of
Yeah,
the
'cause
way.
you can
See what the
imagine.
rookie's got.
You can imagine the convo went something like, hey coach, it's Zach Wilson, the other quarterback. Listen, I was wondering. I know you're thinking of benching Tua. Man, I'd really like to start for the Dolphins, and Coach McDaniel,
No.
probably something like, LOL, I've seen your tape. Sorry, Zach.
Yeah.
It's
Go hit
like,
on my mom
yeah,
or something is what he would have said. Because he's a weirdo. But yeah,
yeah.
it'll be Quinn Ewers, not Zach Wilson. Again, you got to see what the rookie can do. It's a soft matchup against Cincinnati defense coming up. We'll see what the Cincinnati Bengals look like in general. They're suffering that bad loss last week. But you got to find out what he got in the seventh rounder. He was somebody who fell
Has to
deeper in
be better
drafts. That
than
was a
Zach
theme.
Rosmer, right?
I mean, there was a theme in this year's draft where some of the later quarterbacks dropped way further than they were expected. So Quinn Ewers might be a better value than the seventh round draft pick says he would. Obviously, Shador Sanders, the poster child for falling in drafts, who was projected around number 2 or 3 for a while, went in the fifth round. So it's fun to be a
And
Dolphins fan.
but even more fun than a Dolphins fan, as tough a year as Tua is having. How about Joe Burrow? All of a sudden, the bright year ahead. If you had the Cincinnati stack in one of your leagues, you were pumped up beyond all expectation. And then their Burrow injury, and then Burrow was coming back. Well, why is he coming back? Are we sure that the Bengals even have a prayer? That would be not much. But yeah, then Joe Burrow came back. Everyone was pumped up. Everyone was excited. And then they got absolutely spalacked, absolutely
Yeah.
decimated. And then, of course, Joe Burrow's not having as much fun anymore. And we have to remember this is the same Cincinnati Bengals, right? Carson Palmer, not exactly the type of organization that wants to build to win, and also the kind of organization that if you're not having fun, it's going to take English. It's a tough language. It's going to take or tack a almost pretty much divine revelation to get your butt out of Cincinnati because we remember how finally Carson Palmer got out of there, right? And it's not crazy that Joe Burrow could be traded out of there. We've seen crazier crap happen this year, but it's just not likely. It's sort of like Tua, and all of a sudden the Dolphins moving on. Yeah, not at least next year, I don't think. And I don't think the Bengals are ready to move on from Joe Burrow, even if he is maybe ready to move on from them.
Ultimately, if Joe Burrow says I want to be somewhere else, he can go somewhere else. He can force his way out of town. I don't think Joe Burrow's that unhappy with the general situation in Cincinnati. It's been a rough year. The defense has been horrific. He's been dealing with injury
Oh
concerns,
yeah,
injury
the
issues.
one bleeping stop defense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those where everything has gone wrong for the Bengals. Everything has gone wrong for Joe Burrow. As someone who does have the Burrow Chase stack going into a semifinal matchup, I don't love it. They are playing my Dolphins, and well, the Dolphins after being eliminated, I think they're going to be a giant turd. And if yours isn't good, they're going to have a lot of short fields. So I'm going to roll with it. Hope for the best,
Championship
but it is
bracket.
concerning.
What championship bracket? What's that? Because all of my teams are in
Yeah,
consolation brackets.
yeah,
Yay! Because I had two. Basically, went up against H-Chan, so yeah, we know how that went. Another one,
yeah.
Jalen Warren didn't exactly do enough for
Oh, he
that.
did enough in my matchup, and just yeah, I had to Achan had to make up about 15 or 16 on Warren, made up 14. Just not
Yeah, he
quite
may
enough.
have been kept out of the end zone, but he got more than enough PPR there.
Yeah.
More than enough.
Um, as going back to Joe Burrow though, I don't think he's going to force his way out of town. I think there's a lot of frustration in Cincinnati all around.
So you just think it's
Lost
because of the
season.
injury and the rehab and
Yeah,
then coming back into that
I think it's a
situation not
lost
exactly
season. He
prime.
hasn't really had his weapons all together at any point this season other than week one.
Well, T. Higgins and the concussions, Jamar Chase, all the
The suspension.
sping and all that craziness.
Yeah, so you've got some oddities there where he's probably not having as much fun without his weapons. The team is struggling. The defense has been horrific. There's talk
Unknown.
about his head coach possibly being on the hot seat. I don't think he's on the hot seat the same way as maybe a Todd Bowles or Raheem Morris or Mike
Yeah,
McDaniels.
Todd
But
Bowles uses multiple F bomb and expletive press conference there.
but
Yes.
I think there's a realistic possibility that he gets fired. That Zach Taylor gets fired for the Bengals, and if they finish down the stretch and finish 4-13, you've got a lot of elite talent on the offensive side of the ball. You get a good offensive coordinator and really focus on the defensive head coach, defensive coordinator. I think you can turn it around fairly quick. The Bengals defense have been showing signs of life, but there's just so much frustration with Burrow in the lost season and everything not going to plan. And the fact that if this defense was a few stops better, a few tackles better, they would still be in the playoff contention at the very least, even with the time Burrow missed. And it's frustrating. I would love to see Miami and Cincinnati find a way to swap quarterbacks and give up whatever the Dolphins have to give up to make Tua to Cincinnati in return for Joe Burrow makes sense because I don't think the difference in talent can be quantified with a couple of draft picks. And I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen. But that would be, as a Dolphins fan, hey, if Burrow wants out of town, South Beach can take him.
All right, you mentioned Bowles. You mentioned the Bucks. We've got to address that. That even if the Bucks do enough, win two out of the next three games, get back and win the division and win one or maybe two, or at least have a good showing the second game. Is that enough in your mind to keep Bowles, or is that defense just so horrifically bad this year that in of itself, that collapse in of itself is enough to justify finally the Bucks to move on from Todd Bowles?
I think winning the division is not enough. I think if he goes 9-8, only beats Carolina both their games, loses to Miami
That doesn't
somehow.
make Tomlin.
Yeah, if he goes 9-8, they lose to the Dolphins, they sweep Carolina, or maybe they lose one to Carolina, beat Miami, and they somehow get in on the tiebreaker with Carolina, whatever. And then they play what's looking like the loser of tonight's Seattle LA Rams game, most likely. It could change. Could be San Francisco. Probably. I mean, you're looking at a Seattle, Chicago, Green Bay, San Francisco, possibly Detroit in that 5 seed. I don't think they can even get to that point at this point. Maybe the Eagles fall to crap and you get the 3 seed, but you're still facing a better team than you in the wild card. If you win the division and get smacked in the playoffs, I don't mean, oh, you played a good Seattle team and they won 27-25 on a last second field goal. I'm saying you play a Seattle team that's better than you and you lose 38-7.
JSN has like 3 touchdowns. Sam
Yeah.
Darnold runs in
You
another
get
one.
exposed, you get annihilated, and you look at that and go, we barely won a bad division. We lost to the Saints, we lost to the Falcons, we lost to the Panthers, or maybe we beat the Panthers even. The division around them seems like the Saints are getting it going in the right direction. Carolina's definitely going in the
Saints are
right
becoming
direction.
awesome spoilers late. It doesn't matter who's injured. It doesn't matter who they put in there. They just win with Shuck
They're
behind
3-3 with Tyler Shuck with a drop touchdown that would have made them 4-2 with him at the
Shuck.
helm.
Probably
They're
a
4-10
surprise
overall.
fantasy pickup from the championships.
I mean, they're playing the Jets this week. You gotta like their chances of winning another one. If you are the Bucks and you really think Igbukah, especially if Evans doesn't
The big
retire and he's
news.
got a year or two or more left, you still got Chris Godwin, you have Bucky Irving, you have a really good offense. That defense, they need a piece or two. They need some health luck as well. But they can get that defense going in the right direction. But I think if Todd Bowles wins the division at 9-8 and then gets smacked around the playoffs, he's still gone. And that's not to Tampa's advantage. They'd be better off going 8-9, missing the playoffs and firing him so they have the entire pool of coaches to pick from, as opposed to, oh, we got in the wild card and 2 or 3 of those teams that do fire head coaches, your Cincinnati's, your Miami's, your Atlanta's, your Arizona's, that look like they're definitely going to move on from the head coach. They're definitely not making the playoffs. They can go start taking those first cracks at potential head coaches, try and get the best of the best. You can get this year's Ben Johnson if there is one. And then the Bucks, if they wait till after the wild card weekend, weigh their options, they fire him the Wednesday after, the coaching pool may very quickly dry up for him. So if you want Todd Bowles gone, I think missing the playoffs is advantageous. If you like Todd Bowles and think, hey, this is just an unlucky year, you're hoping they get in the playoffs, they win the division, and they put up a good showing, at least in the wild card game. If they don't win, so be it. But again, if it's a close loss, it'll be fine. I think a change is needed, but I'm not 100% sure it's going to happen.
Shall we get on to the recaps and Thursday night football pick?
A lot of blowouts, so this should be a quick set of recaps. Bears 31, Browns 3. Browns suck. We have seen the Browns now play a couple good teams with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is not the answer when you play a good team. Yes, he can beat up on the Raiders. Yes, he can beat up on the Titans. But when you step up against the Bears, who are leading the league in takeaways, it just doesn't work. The Bears back on top of the division with a big matchup Saturday against Green Bay.
Yeah, the highlight other than the Bears offense and the Bears defense in some cases was, yeah, you actually had somebody opening up a soda that instantly froze after open. Instant slushy. You don't even have to pay extra for it.
Yeah, Bears looking like a playoff team. And the cold, I think the cold did have a big factor in a lot of games. Yeah, I think the cold had a big factor in a lot of games. This one, the next one, Ravens 24-0 win over the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals just never really looked like they got anything going. Joe Burrow coming back from the injury. The cold weather could stiffen joints and muscles, and maybe that toe's not 100%. He seemed a little stiff. The ball was not on target. No T. Higgins. Maybe it's just a bad week. Maybe it's Baltimore clutching up because they knew if they won this game, Cincinnati was dead to rights. And with Miami playing the next night against Pittsburgh, they knew if they won, they would be no worse than one game back with Pittsburgh. They would still control their destiny. So I think there's a lot of motivation on the Baltimore side in this game that got them over the hump. But the Bengals laying a goose egg with that offense is very disappointing. We've seen the Ravens defense turn things around, but they still beat the Ravens by 18 points, 32-14, just a couple weeks ago on Thanksgiving. So disappointing showing for Cincinnati at home, but Baltimore a big win. They got the running game going. Lamar Jackson didn't have to do a lot through the air, but was solid for fantasy as well.
Yeah, and the Ravens 24-0 win over the Bengals flying. Cincinnati held the ball. Are you ready for nearly 40 minutes, 2-1? Has there ever been that much of a disparity in the final score and possession time?
You said Cincinnati held it for 40 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive that you can have the ball 2/3 of the time and get shut out. But
Yep.
it wasn't a good week. It seemed like they were just a little bit off. It didn't seem like the sky was falling, but we'll see how they look this week against Miami. Bengals out of the playoff contention after that week. Next up, the Texans 40-20 win over the Cardinals. The Cardinals sucked. Nico Collins had a massive touchdown on the first drive of the game, had 2 for the game. Keep an eye on Woody Marks going into next week. He left with an ankle injury. "Quote unquote," he could have returned, but it wasn't needed. So we'll see what happens this week. But the Texans, they're on fire. They're right now holding down the 7 seed, and it looks like they're going to make the playoffs as the Colts continue to fall backwards. And there's really nobody else in the hunt at this point other than the Colts and the teams that are already in.
Yeah, D'Amico Ryan, the Texans head coach, said that Woody Marks could have returned to Houston's Week 15 game over the Cardinals, but they just wanted to, quote, make sure Woody is good that we could continue to go into the week. And also, Bam Knight unlikely to play in Week 16 after suffering a bad sprain as the Cardinals get whacked again.
Yeah, speaking of getting whacked, the Jets. 48-20 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars in a game that wasn't necessarily as close as the final score indicated. Jacksonville was up at one point 31-10, 38-13 before winning this one 48-20. Trevor Lawrence, a career day with 6 total
And
touchdowns,
I
5 passing
started him
touchdowns.
over freaking Drake May. I would have won.
Yeah, 5 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown today. Travis Etienne, I think, had 3 scores in this one. Bashal Tutin's going to miss some time with an injury to his finger. It's a tough matchup coming up with Denver on the horizon for Jacksonville, but Travis Etienne looks like he could be a league winner, somebody you could have gotten in the 9th round. So if you got him, great job. If you got him in Dynasty or draft or traded for him, good job there as well. Jaguars, they're leading that division. The Texans are hot on their heels, but if they keep winning and they've got a big game against Denver, as we just mentioned, they could be one of those surprise dark horse teams from the preseason that makes a deep run.
And Trevor Lawrence played a historic game, according to Pro Football Talk, on Sunday, becoming the first player in NFL history with at least 300 passing yards, 50 rushing yards, 5 touchdown passes, and 1 touchdown run in a game. And not surprisingly, Jets can Steve Wilks, the defensive coordinator, after this historic stomping.
Yeah, the Jets, they're bad. We'll move on. Well, the next one, there's no real story with the Chargers-Chiefs game, is there?
And you haven't heard about any team getting eliminated or anything, have you?
Yeah,
I didn't think Perna mentioned that once at all this week on That's Good Sports.
The Chargers 16-13 win over the Kansas City Chiefs in conjunction with the Jaguars win, the Bills win, the Texans win, has officially eliminated the Kansas City Chiefs, and adding injury to insult, Patrick Mahomes leaves the game very late. They were talking about his bad knee. It seems to have gone, and ACL and LCL tear. He has already had surgery to repair it.
LCL, ouch.
Yeah, he's already had surgery to repair it. Timeline to return, roughly 9 months, which puts him close to the start of next season. It may not be him week 1. Shouldn't be more than maybe week 4, it sounds like. You're going to see his running upside diminish next year, at least to start the season. But the Chiefs, they go down. They're eliminated. The Chargers, they're a 10-4 team. They look like an absolute lock for the playoffs. Not a guarantee. They're not locked in yet, but they're very, very close. The Chargers 16-13 win over the Chiefs, and that set the AFC officially to wide open.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is just one of those names up there like Peyton Manning, like Tom Brady, that you just always had at least in the playoffs, if not the Final Four, if not the Super Bowl. And yeah, not going to be there this year. And how about heartbreak as just a rough highlight? You had Chris Jones finding out in his post-game press conference that Kansas City was eliminated from the playoffs, as he said, quote, "We still have a fighting chance. Are we out of the playoffs? We are. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah,
You don't want to see a guy like Mahomes go down injured. Make no mistake,
yeah,
they
that was
missed the
just a
playoffs
brutal
with.
injury.
There's a lot of comparisons to the Tom Brady injury in his whatever year, ninth year after three Super Bowl. It's a different injury because Brady lost it week number 1, not week number 15. Uh, it's it's all right. He'll be okay. They will bounce back. But remember about 5-6 weeks ago when the Chiefs were still the odds-on favorite to
Hmm.
win the Super Bowl at like 5-4, and now they are out entirely. So, RIP to the Chiefs this season. We'll see them again in 2026, and I'm sure they will be making a hell of a lot of noise next year with a third place schedule. Chiefs are going to be scary next year for sure. Speaking of scary, the Bills in the second half, the Bills come back from a 21-0
Oh,
deficit to win 35-31, scoring touchdowns on 5 consecutive drives. For the Patriots, Travion Henderson looks like the real deal. They're keeping Ramondre Stevenson in the rotation, but it seems like Henderson's getting more of the work, and he is the more explosive back. But Josh Allen and James Cook took off in this game, and they get a dominating second half performance that gives them the 4-point win. The Patriots still control their destiny to win the AFC East, but they're now a game back of Denver for the number 1 overall seed and only 1 game up on the Bills with 3 weeks to go.
yeah, because just with this game, you had Vrabel, not surprisingly, talking about the officiating consistency. Quote, the Bills lead the NFL in offensive hold. How a team coming into the game leading, and that's how they play. Didn't have one yesterday, so that's hard for me to understand. And you're shocking at Vrabel or just a head coach in the NFL is calling out the refs. That never happens, right?
Wow. All
And then
right,
of
next
course,
up. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, just that one to say, Bills tight end Dawson Knox had 0 TDs in his college career. He is now the Bill franchise record holder for most TDs by a TE. Not bad.
Yeah. Not bad at all, especially when they can get all of their 3 tight ends involved in most of the games. Next up, though, Commanders 29-21 win over the New York Giants. The Commanders get their 4th win of the season. The Giants maintain control of that number 1 overall pick. I think it's a luxury for the Giants. This isn't a great skill position draft. It's quarterback and the beef guys, as you might want to say. It's the backbone of your team, not the guys that are flash, but the guys who can get the job done. So the Giants can either trade that off for a ransom, even if they fall to 2 or 3. Commanders, though, they look good with Mariota. Obviously, we want to see James Daniels back and healthy next season, but he's out for the rest of the way. But the Commanders, a 29-21 win in division, it's something.
Yeah, you have to wonder if Jackson Dart is going to be starting or it's going to be a little famous Jameis because I think Dart was a little bit banged up and the Commanders have shut down James Daniels for the rest of the way. That might as well. I mean, they're gone. So not
So,
a lot of hope there. So you might as well see what you have with Marcus Mariota. But Bill finally had some fantasy relevance there, so that was nice to see. But kind of an ugly game that just utterly meaningless other than for draft position. And yeah, you're kind of tell who's leaning the draft position when you see Archie Manning is deciding to go back to school for the next year.
he wasn't great. He wouldn't have been the number 1 overall pick, but that weakens. This should not be a big draft class for skill position players. I mean, even Mendoza, who won the Heisman, wasn't a statistical monster at Indiana, so might be one of the weaker draft classes we've seen for fantasy talent. Let's call it that at least. But obviously, time will tell how these players progress. Next up, not a lot of analysis needed here. Eagles 31, Raiders nothing. Raiders are real bad, and
A.J.
Kenny Pickett
Brown
was
is
not the
happy
answer.
again for 1 week.
Yeah, A.J. Brown was happy. Saquon Barkley looking like he's ramping up, but the Eagles just dominated from start to finish of this game. Not a surprise. I think I had said there's no doubt in my mind that the Eagles win this game. There'd be riots in the street if they lost to the Raiders. No riots in Philadelphia this week as the Eagles dominate.
Yeah, I think the most damning stat in this one. How about from Fox Sports, Ryan? In 2024, the Las Vegas Raiders were the worst rushing offense in the NFL, averaging 79.8 yards per game, almost a year and an RB at 6 overall. Later, they are still the worst rushing offense in the NFL, averaging 72.7 yards per game. And that was clearly evident with only 75 yards total against the Eagles. Let me say that again, 75 yards total against the Eagles. They suck.
Yeah, it's not great. Next up, Broncos 34-26 win over the Green Bay Packers. Bo Nix showed up in this one big time. The Packers losing Micah Parsons, Christian Watson
Ooh,
exiting with an
oh,
injury,
news
but
now.
looks Christian Watson is questionable for this week, so at least he's not out long term. He seems to have unlocked that offense. Just a bad week for the Packers. They fall back behind the Bears. They play the Bears on Saturday, so a big game, but no Micah Parsons the rest of the way is the story coming out of this game, along with the fact that the Broncos now 11 wins in a row. They've beaten a team like Green Bay. This seems to be a team that just plays to the competition level they're up against, and they get the job done as they're 12-2 on top of the AFC. Packers a devastating blow. Broncos a nice stepping stone to greater things. Joel, anything to add on Broncos Packers? Broncos
What?
Packers, anything on that?
Oh, Broncos and Packers. Sorry, I was trying to get the Thursday night football odds ready
Ah,
up on the screen, so they're ready to rock and roll and take control. But yep, matter of fact, yes, Cortland Sutton finished Sunday leading the team with 10 targets and 7 catches for 113 yards and a TD. Quote, when we need a play in a critical situation, find 14 because when he is covered, he's not. He is our best player. We got to keep feeding him the ball. That would be Sean Payton, coach of the pretty darn good Denver Broncos. And oh boy, just ah, yeah, just Broncos. And then you have the Packers. Broncos easily winning the Grusty Furnace Bowl. Packers just getting heartbreak after heartbreak. Ryan starting off Wyatt on the defense. Then Tucker crafted off the season. And then finally, the unkindest cut of all, Micah Parsons, even after all those draft picks gone for the season and most likely their appearance in the Super Bowl if that was going to happen.
yeah. They're still a good team, still a good defense, but it's going to take a little bit of effort for them to make a deep run now. Next up, Rams 41-31 win over the Detroit Lions. The Lions are in trouble for the playoffs. Who would have thought the Chiefs, Lions, and Ravens are all on the outside looking in? Chiefs eliminated with 3 weeks left to go. The Rams, they do lose Devontae Adams in this game. Haven't seen the official update for Thursday Night Football. That should be coming out here shortly. But he was doubtful for this game tonight with a
Yeah, he
hamstring
was a good
injury.
time decision.
And he went down, we've seen Mike Evans with a hamstring injury. It pops and he just goes flat down. Same thing with Devontae Adams. If you are a fan of the Rams, if you're a fan of Devontae Adams and you don't have him in fantasy, you want to see him sit for the rest of the season, get ready for the postseason. The Rams have already clinched by winning this game. But all of that being said, the Rams back on top of the conference. They get a win over the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown was very good once again. Jahmyr Gibbs knocked some people out of the playoffs that had them on his had him on their roster. Not something you expected, but the Lions are in danger of missing the playoffs, and the Rams keep rolling.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs just has turned into a boom bust back recently, where all of a sudden he just either has that week where holy crap, he won the week. He's amazing. He's fantastic. And then he just has carton type numbers in production. As Lions just a puzzle. As all of a sudden, I think the Lions, Ryan, were a lot of people's picks to go to the Super Bowl in this year, and now there's a very real chance that they can miss the playoffs, and you just have to wonder what's going on up in Detroit.
Yeah, it's not great for Detroit right now, but another team that might be able to feast on a third place schedule next season. Lions got a lot of good players. Jameson Williams is going to win some people with their fantasy leagues. I believe that, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like they're going to get a chance at running in the playoffs. Next up, the Panthers, with a chance to seize control of the NFC South, fall short to the Saints.
Thank you, New Orleans freaking Saints. You are awesome.
In a game that ultimately didn't mean a whole heck of a lot because the Panthers, it really comes down to the two games against Tampa Bay. The Saints win 20-17, coming from behind to get the job done. They sweep the Panthers, the New Orleans Saints, the 4-win Saints, sweep the Carolina Panthers, who are trying to get in the playoffs for the first time since they had Cam Newton behind center, I believe.
The Saints, though, might have chosen the Saints over number for their total. Might be looking a little bit sexier now.
Yeah, this is a game. I took the Saints in. I took the chance on it. I just felt like the Panthers might look ahead. They might have some tension, and that sure looked to be the case. When they had the chance to seize control, they fell short. The Saints, though, 4-10. They play the Jets this weekend. It looks like this team's turning a corner. Bad injuries in the backfield, but this is a team that they should be coming out of cap hell that they've been in for a while. That should improve.
That may be a little bit on the doubtful, so fantasy alert there.
Yeah, McMillan left this game with an injury, did not really do much in it anyways. But the Saints look like the turning quarter. They could be they might be a sneaky worst to first team next year, especially if this division does not improve around them greatly. Because right now, even though they're a bad team, even though they're 4-10, they could finish with the same record as Carolina or Tampa Bay if they get swept.
It's crazy. The Saints, just all of a sudden, more injuries, and it doesn't matter. They just plug somebody in there and they get the job done.
Yep. Moving on to the Colts and Philip Rivers, who lose to a team that didn't score a touchdown. Seahawks 18-16 win over the Colts. Philip Rivers, he played quarterback.
That's probably why you benched Sam Darnold for Bo Nix this week.
Yeah, hopefully you bench Tyler Warren for someone like Cody Parkinson, like somebody said they should have done last week. Somebody who was knocked out of the playoffs because they didn't do that. The same person who gave the advice didn't follow it and paid the price. Yeah, it's alarming what's going on with Seattle's offense. They've been really not great for the last few weeks. They play the Rams tonight. The Rams have a really good defense. So Jason Myers, for fantasy, if you play with kickers, he is the number one kicker in the league. He's the guy you want. Hopefully for him and the Seahawks, the offense came back in track. But the Colts, without Daniel Jones, it's not the same operation. Jonathan Taylor had a lot of opportunities, only 75 yards on the ground with a ton of carries. Philip Rivers didn't have a touchdown pass, but he really couldn't get the ball downfield. The Seahawks should target and stop Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's not someone you're going to bench in fantasy, but if you've relied on him to this point to get you into the playoffs, I don't think he's going to be the horse you're going to ride over the finish line to a championship. Someone else is going to have to step up for your team.
Yeah, because Philip Rivers sounds like he's going to start for the Colts again in Week 16, kind of a dub. But
yeah,
even if the practice window is being opened up for Anthony Richardson, I don't know how much confidence they have. Yeah, I think they're sticking with the old Grandpa Rivers there. Ooh, boy.
If they had confidence in Anthony Richardson and they thought his window could open this week, they would have just rolled with Riley Leonard last week. He was healthy enough to play. They would have just done that. And then turned it over to Anthony Richardson this week. It's not going to happen. Moving on. Last game before we get to the two night games. 49ers 37-24 win over the Tennessee Titans. The Titans, they hung tough in this game. Tony Pollard's having a nice resurgence. Juwan Jennings continues to produce. Brock Purdy and George Kittle great in this one as well. The Tennessee Titans, still a 2-win team. They're still battling for the number one overall pick once again. They have a lot of pieces that need filled. This is a quarterback draft at the top. They don't need a quarterback. They could probably trade out and get a lot of assets in this one. But the Niners, a 10-win team, and they're third in the division by a game behind both the teams we're going to see tonight, LA and the Seattle Seahawks. But the Niners continue winning, even with all those injuries, even with all those problems early on in the season. They just keep getting it done.
Yeah, just you got to wonder how the 49ers continue to do it with the smoke and the mirrors and all the injury and even just the whole crazy Ayuk craziness
Yeah,
that's
he's
going
going to get
on
cut.
because I saw not only did they start off with voiding his guaranteed money, now they voided the entire flipping contract, and he's just
Yeah,
basically on the he's not on the team anymore list. I didn't even realize they had one of those lists in the NFL, but oh boy, what a situation! And just sort of a enigma. And with the Titans, their enigma is just one of the best highlights to describe the whole season
we
for the
asked.
Titans. Ryan Cam Ward evading two defenders and makes a picture perfect tightrope throw on the run, only to have his wide receiver drop the ball. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Titans in a nutshell.
Yeah. Moving on, Vikings 34-26 win over the Dallas Cowboys. Once again, J.J. McCarthy looking pretty good. Not the best defense in the Cowboys, so that does help things. We'll see how he fares the rest of the way. Still, getting nothing out of Justin Jefferson for the Vikings is concerning. George Pickens' downturn continues. CeeDee Lamb's very, very good at football, and Javonte Williams left us with a neck injury. Looks like he's going to be fine. He did return to this game, but the Cowboys officially eliminated from playoff contention outside of winning the division, and the Eagles would pretty much have to win out or lose out. The Cowboys have to win out. It's very, very unlikely. All but eliminated are the Cowboys. Cannot get the wild card at this point. The Vikings, maybe J.J. McCarthy just needed a little more time, but he seems like he's turning a corner. Again, two soft defenses. You don't want to go too crazy, but they do get another win. He looked a lot better. Maybe things will go the right direction. You just got to figure out how to get Justin Jefferson involved.
Yeah, I saw. I'll tell you, flying. I saw Monday or Tuesday the Skip Bayless video. Then I knew he was going to vent about the Cowboys, and I didn't click on it. And I am a better human being for not clicking on that video. So yeah, how about that game was just very frustrating for Justin Jefferson managers who he had a touchdown, then it was overturned, and then he didn't get a touchdown the whole rest of the game. Jalen Naylor, two flipping touchdowns. You're just like, who? What? When?
Yeah, wide receiver
Where?
3, and he gets it done.
And you have just an interesting stat here. Are you ready for this? J.J. McCartney was 13 for 16 for 220 yards, 2 TDs, 0 INTs, a 158.3 rating when targeting anybody other than Jefferson versus the Cowboys. Sort of like our truth from the WWE. Is it a conspiracy? CON. Conspiracy? So yeah,
It's weird.
the other conspiracies is number one Cowboys question: what the bleep is going on with George Pickens?
Yeah, I mean, he's been hot and cold through his entire career. A couple tough matchups. We'll see what happens this week against the Chargers, but I don't think you worry too much about George Pickens. Like long term, we'll see what happens in the offseason. He is a free agent, and he is still the wide receiver 4 in most fantasy formats. So he's had a good year. He's gotten a lot of people to the playoffs. He's hurt some people last week. But if you've got him, depending on your options, if you're in a redraft league, you're probably still having to roll with George Pickens. Dynasty, you might have enough options where you can bench him, but he'll be just fine in the long term either way. Last game was the one we started talking about right away, was the Tua getting benched because they lost to the Steelers 28-15 in a game that was not that close. The Steelers were up 28-3 at one point in this one. The a couple garbage time touchdowns to Darren Waller. Wish one of them would have went to Achane, but the Dolphins, when it didn't go to Achane, it didn't look like they had an offense, and that is a problem. And I do think that the real problem is not the head coach; it is Tua. I don't know if it's the concussions slowly adding up to just, hey, the guy's not there mentally. He's done some weird things. He
Again,
makes some
there
bad
was a
decisions.
lot. There was a lot talking about why was Tua laughing and in a good mood when your team is getting losing that badly.
And the thing is, as bad as the play on the field is, when you see Tua after the game laughing with former teammate Jalen Ramsey, who was traded to Pittsburgh in this offseason, it's fine to have friends. Everybody has friends that are on other teams in the league, especially if they played with your team at one point. But Josh Allen if they lose a game and they get embarrassed like this, he's not going to be like, oh, hey, yeah, Branch from Detroit. I knew you back in the day. What's up, man? Let me hang out and be the last person on the field on the road after you get embarrassed. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to see it with pretty much any other good quarterback that you consider a top 20 guy. The only ones you would see are the ones that have maturity issues and mental issues that don't know what the optics look like. And I think that, as much as his bad play, is what got him benched. He didn't take the loss seriously. He said in the before, I'm not so worried about the results as long as I can go home to my kids. It's like it seems like the fight is not there for Tua. I think the concussions have taken a toll on him, and I just don't think the mental game is as strong as it used to be. I think he's maybe just not as interested in playing football overall because he's like, I got my contract. They're going to pay me either way, and if I get hurt again, I'm at risk for major problems. I think there's a problem there, and
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins would be doing the right thing if they have to cut him and take the dead cap hit. Have a rough couple of years. Find your quarterback in the 2027 draft. Have a really maybe Quinn Ewers just needs to be the quarterback next year. See if he is
And
decent this year with the last 3 games. Say, Quinn Ewers, you're a guy. You earn the job. It's your job. If you show us in 1 year, you've got 1 year to prove it to us. If not, and you're that bad, we're gonna have a top 5 or so pick. We're gonna get the guy then because they have good enough pieces around that. Defense is overperforming. Remember when we thought the corners were going to be the weakest point of the Dolphins' defense, and this defense was going to allow like 40 points a week, and they did early. They turned it around. Now the offense needs to step up, and this is not happening.
all right, shall we get to the Thursday night football news picking?
Yeah, let's get to the picks. It is the Rams. It is the Seahawks. It's going to be a pretty windy night. A little bit of rain up there. The Rams. I gotta think the Seahawks are about a 2.5-point favorite at home.
It was the Saints. They started. Seahawks started. Are you ready for this, Ryan? Open as 1.5 dogs. They are now 1.5 favorites.
Yeah, that's interesting. No Devontae Adams will skew that line a little bit. Again, I think Seattle by about 2.5. I know if you follow the curse wheel of Brandon Perna, it landed on the Rams this week. And then Devontae Adams almost certainly not going to play. Again, waiting on the official word. I'll see
Also
if I can
minus
find that here in a minute.
125 and 42.5 over under.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is officially out for week number 16. So he is definitely not going to play. That does affect things. There's the whole. We'll get more into it in my final thought.
Hour before the game.
Yeah, we'll get more into this story in my final thought, but the whole Puka hand gesture on Twitch or whatever the hell's going on with that might be a distraction for the Rams. But you got to think, with Devontae Adams out, if they can get this passing game going, it's going to benefit two people specifically. Colby Parkinson, Kyron Williams, and then Blake Corum as well, because he's had a good role in the running game. But the touchdown machine that used to be Kyron Williams before Devontae Adams should be back in play. And Colby Parkinson has been a great tight end since he's come in the role. Both of them are very startable. I'm actually playing both of them in the same league, which is a little terrifying because I need to win. You can also obviously play Puka Nacua. Matthew Stafford is a solid option, but the wind may be a concern. Tread lightly. Seattle's also got a pretty good defense. I think the Rams are a sneaky good defense in this matchup because they seem to just torture Sam Darnold in the last 3 starts. Sam Darnold has his 3 worst games in the last 2 seasons. For the Seahawks, it's JSN. And maybe nothing else. Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet haven't been anything special. Maybe you can get desperation with Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed is starting to heat up a little bit, but he's still not a major contributor where you want to play him in fantasy.
Returns, but that's about it now.
Not every league has returns. And, we didn't even talk about the Woody Marks thing. I'll talk about that in my final thought as well. I guess I got 2. But for the Rams, they're going on the road. Both teams are 11-3. This is a battle for the number 1 seed in the NFC and the top spot in the NFC West, obviously. Seahawks lost the first one, so if they lose this one, they're basically a game and a half behind with 2 to go. The Rams would essentially have the division locked up. But a win by Seattle is wide open once again. They would have the edge with 2 weeks to go. Joel, What do you got?
OG for this pick. Originally, I had Rams, but Adams, legit game time decision. Now you said El Alto.
He is out.
Puka dealing with cramps and a short week, and there's also a reason why these Rams going to Seattle on a short week are just one minus one when they opened, and now they are underdogs, and it is basically because it's a pick 'em. Even if Puka's good to go, it's a Puka versus JSN kind of game with Devontae Adams now shut down. And Puka just has a lot of distractions right now. One that you're going to talk about in your final thoughts. You also had Puka try to get some streamers into the building that Sean McVay was like, it ain't happening. Then you had Puka was streaming when he shouldn't have been in the locker room, and his teammates were telling him to shut it down. Then Puka was going off about the refs. Then, of course, the whole Aiden Ross deal that I know you'll probably be yakking about in your final thoughts. And you
That's
just
the one.
yeah, and you have all of these outside things that don't really have to deal with what Puka has to pay attention to, which is the game and the matchup, and everything else is a distraction. And I just think that he has more than mind on football for this very key Thursday night football game, and I feel the edge here goes to Darnold, who hopefully won't be seeing any ghosts tonight. But yeah, what's my confidence in this pick? Yeah, in fantasy, I'm still rolling with Knicks over Darnold simply because of the matchup here with a Rams win here could also happen. But it's just that the Seahawks are paying more attention to football than other things, unlike Puka Puka right now. Then the Rams distractions because you also had McVay just saying birth to his son this week. You also had the flight and delay and the maintenance troubles. Do you blame Kurtzville for that or not? And just all the Rams distraction could very well bite them, you know where. And I'm picking the Seahawks.
I'm taking the Rams for the pure fact that Sam Darnold, the last three starts, the two in Minnesota, where he looked like he was absolutely lost, and the one this season against the Rams. He had 4 turnovers in the first game against the Rams. Bad weather, possibly not heavy rain, but rain, some wind, and a good defense. And he's struggled against them in the past.
Oh yeah, the possible 40-mile-an-hour gusts, right?
Yeah, it makes you question some of your decisions on playing guys in this matchup. But the gusts, I mean, there's only so much you can do with that. Um, I'm going to take the Rams. I just think if it's a bad weather game, you trust the team with the better defense, which may be Seattle in this game, but Darnold doesn't seem to play well against the Rams. And you trust the team with a better running game, and that is unquestionably the Los Angeles Rams with Williams and Corum in the backfield. All right, let's go to final thoughts. We'll start with you, Joel.
All right, so three very quick ones. Number one, possibility of the WNBA going on strike next year. Oh no. Whatever are we going to do about the NBA, WNBA possibly going on strike? Insert massive sarcasm here. Number two, kudos to the Knicks for not raising a freaking banner for winning the NBA Cup, which is a made up championship, a made up tournament, something to try to get revenue together. That apparently I heard on was it Mad Dog Sports that a college bowl game ended up getting more of a draw than either of the two NBA Cup games. Make of that what you will. My third final thought, yeah, Hollywood had another passing. I know you had the tragic passing with Rob Reiner and his wife and all of the insanity associated with that craziness. But yeah, we had yesterday or the day before a piece of my childhood, Gil Gerard's passing, otherwise iconically known as Buck Rogers for 2 seasons on NBC's short-lived series. So raise an imaginary glass for the actor who played Captain William Buck Rogers, forever a part of our childhoods. R.I.P. And yeah, that's kind of a sad way to wake up.
Weather update for the
And those are
game
my
tonight.
final thoughts.
Yeah, weather update for the game tonight. Looks like it's going to be raining to start the game, but the rain should subside between 8 and 9 p.m. Wind starting at 16 miles an hour with gusts around 30. Those gusts will drop by 9 p.m. to 25 miles an hour, and then in the second half after 10 p.m., really no gusting above that 10 to 15 mile an hour range. So second half should be a little more entertaining than the first half, but yeah. Final thoughts. I guess I know I said it to Puka, and there's another one I already forgot about what I was going to talk about. So, if you don't know the controversy around Puka Nakua, what was the other one?
Aiden Ross and the hand gesture or whatever all that craziness was.
Yeah, that's the one I'm doing. There's another one I mentioned, but I don't remember. Puka Nakua with his live streaming, I mean, he's a younger guy. They're going to do dumb things on live streams. Now he is getting, and there was backlash from a hand gesture that was anti-Semitic in nature that he made at the prodding of this guy Aiden Ross, who I guess runs a YouTube channel. Don't know about him. Don't care about him. Anti-Semitic. It was to call it what the move was. Apparently, was called greedy Jew hands. Puka says he didn't know what it meant. I believe that he didn't know what it meant because you see in the video he's got this flex thing and then he's got another move and then the other guy is doing them in advance and Puka is mirroring him. He's copying him. Puka came out and said, "Hey, I didn't mean anything by it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend anybody. I didn't know what it meant."
A statement condemning it.
Yes, the NFL released a statement condemning it. He is not being disciplined, at least for this game. I don't think he should be personally. He did something stupid. That if he legitimately didn't know what that gesture meant, I can't say what he knew or what he did not know. I mean, we've seen. I mean, I don't want to do the hand gesture because apparently it's a bad gesture, but you've seen it basically anytime you see.
There was a gesture.
Anytime you see someone in a movie being greedy where their hands are going over each other like they're trying to wheeling money, but they're only playing with it, it's basically that. And if someone is like, "Oh, you should do this for a touchdown celebration. You should do this for a touchdown," and this is where it came out to be. So again, if he knew better and he still did it, then shame on him. He deserves the condemnation and the hate that goes along with it. If he truly didn't understand what he was doing, cut the guy a break. He's a young kid. He's gonna do some dumb stuff.
Do a Jewish dance now, I think, in the end zone this week.
Well, he's got a score to do that at least. So we'll see what happens.
Hey.
But yeah, that's gonna be my final thought in this one. And just yeah, there was another one I wanted to talk about, and I don't remember what it was. So we're gonna wrap it up right there. Enjoy week 16. We'll be back probably Saturday night because I forget about obligations I got myself roped into. Yeah, for the rest of week 16, fantasy football semifinals. I'm still alive in the 16-teamer. Got a few.
Somebody is consolation.
Yeah, it's me and Zach this week going head to head in one side of the bracket, and then the reigning champ and the guy that knocked me out of another league in the other side. The top 4 seeds holding, which is surprising. But anyways, I am flying Ryan Gokers along with
Tampa Motormouth Joel Roll.
Back in a couple days for the rest of the picks. Enjoy week 16 and best of luck in the fantasy playoffs. And with that,